of Government at the time, the Osu Castle, to hand over a petition by some ex-servicemen turned deadly, and it was part of a series of activities that led to our independence struggle. 3 soldiers were shot down at the command of the governor, and tomorrow, when we reenact all the scenes at that crossroad, exact spot where the incident happened, we want to ask what the state of the veterans are in the country. But for the 3 who are now buried at separate locations, we still ask the question, should they be put in the War Museum or should they be put in the military cemetery? The fate of veterans is occupying our thoughts today, and at the table we brought one of the officials to help us know what is being done for them. Ex-Warrant Officer 1.
Class 1.
Class 1, Bright Segbefia. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'll just start off straight away with Corporal Latipo and Sergeant Ajete and Private Odate Lamte and the report that we just saw. We filmed that last year, so in February of 2022. Has anything happened to the graves of these men as at now compared to what we filmed last year? If we go today or tomorrow, would we find it the same?
I think so. I don't think anything significant has changed. As far as the Veterans Administration Ghana is concerned, no significant change has taken place. And kudos to GTV for bringing up this. I must say that it is a very sad story for us to be shown where the remains of Sergeant Ajete are, which has become a refuse dump. I must add that the previous regime put together a committee headed by a former Army Chief, General Odote, and I was a member of that committee, to find out the possibility of zooming and reburying the remains of Sergeant Ajete. The report was about being submitted when the sponsors of that committee left office. I know there are still efforts underway for the implementation of that report. And I think as a nation, we should not be proud of this. It is a very disgraceful situation for us to be seeing the lying place of Sergeant Ajete to be a refuse dump. It's not good for our image.
So what happened to Private Odate Lamte?
Private Odate Lamte's remains were not found. Yes, they were not found.
And Corporal Latipo as well?
Neither was his found, but as you told the nation, the family took it upon itself to mount a memorial in his honor at Anyako, and VAG was heavily represented. The armed forces played a lead role in that event at Anyako.
So tomorrow is 75 years since that fateful shooting. What are, apart from the reenactment, which we see every year, is anything different happening?
Nothing significantly different will take place tomorrow. It is going to be the usual parade made up of contingents from the armed forces, the police, and Veterans Administration Ghana. The Vice President, His Excellency, Dr. Baumia, will be the guest of honor at that event. And prayers will be said for the souls of the martyrs.
When we look back, how significant should the younger generation, what level of significance should they place on this reenactment? Because it becomes like a regular story now, almost. Just, 28th February, and for those who were not alive, for those who did not live the struggle, it doesn't make a lot of impact.
Yes, as you rightly quoted that philosopher, that a nation that does not honor its heroes is not worth dying for. What kind of inspiration are we giving the young ones? If This is the sleeping place, the permanent sleeping place of one of our heroes. So I think the nation should do something if indeed we want to inspire the youth. And we must not lose sight of the fact that, I don't know if along your line of questioning you will come to that, but let me say that these three gentlemen actually blazed the trail for independence. Some hold the view that they were going in for their end of service benefits. Far from that. Let us not forget that after the war in 1945, in fulfillment of the promise by the British colonialists, India was given its independence just 2 years after the war. The promise of independence was one of the promises made by the British administrators. So the march that day, that 28th February 1948, was not only for the demand for end of service benefits payments, but also all the promises, the complete package of promises that were made, which included that of political independence. That's why India was given its independence in 1947. Who knows what would have happened if those three gentlemen were not killed, or if the march did not take place.
But the riots were already happening. The shops were already being looted around the same time. So there are some who hold the view that because it was already becoming a volatile situation, they shouldn't have taken the march that day. But you hold a different view. You think that it was very crucial and it was timely.
Yes, the boycott alone, the boycott of European goods did not move the British colonialists. What moved the British colonialists was the riots that followed the killing of the three soldiers. Don't forget that immediately the big six, Nkrumah, Oforiatta, Akwaje, Bechebilante, and Co. were arrested. The governor ordered their arrest and immediately declared a state of emergency. Why the declaration of emergency? If the governor, by his calculation, did not realize that there was worse on the horizon. So the death or the deaths of these three gentlemen actually was a catalyst for Ghana's independence. And I keep saying that, but for that, Ghana's independence date wouldn't have been what it is today. Don't forget that many African countries had their independence in 1960s. Ghana wouldn't have been an isolation. We would also have been celebrating our Independence Day today as having been achieved in 1960, because that was a year that many African countries had their independence, and Ghana wouldn't have been an exception. Yes, so the death of these three gentlemen actually made it possible. Dr. Nkrumah and Co. just capitalized on this. They just cashed in on this. And everybody must admit that the sacrifice of these three gentlemen actually paved the way for Ghana's independence that came at that time. Otherwise, it would have been delayed.
For the whole country, it was independence. But for those who marched, it was to get something that they had fought for in the war. Where their demands met, we know that independence came eventually, about a few years later, about almost a decade later. But did they get what they marched for?
You have come back to my point, that what people say was what they had gone in there for was not what they got. What came was for the good of Ghana, for the generality of Ghanaians, which is our independence. They did not get the end of service that somebody claimed that, or some people claimed that was what motivated the march. They were not paid. So we can say that it was a fight for the nation as a whole, not for the individuals.
Are there still some of those veterans with us today? Because it's been 75 years that we are marking tomorrow.
Yes, we still have some of the Second World War veterans. As to whether they personally took part in that march, I cannot say, because we don't have the record. We don't have any roll call on that, on the number of veterans who participated in the march. But for the Second World War veterans, yes, we still have some. And here, please permit me to pay tribute to Private Jonah Amachi, who will be laid to rest on the 5th of this month at the military cemetery. He is one of the few survivors of the Second World War. We lost some. Last year, for example. He finally became a magistrate through hard work. He died last year at Agona near Takoradi. We still have some of them. Lance Corporal Aye is here at Odoko, struggling with health issues. Yes, we still have a number of them, some over 100, some close to 100. Kudohuo is also a Second World War veteran. Is a very wonderful man. Wonderful in the sense that this man headed Kwando Technical School, Accra Technical School, and Takoradi Technical School. Yes, a Second World War veteran. So you see, the war actually disrupted the life of some of them. If they hadn't been taken to the war, they would have continued their education uninterrupted. That notwithstanding, some of them, through hard work, got themselves educated, and they attained high level in social life before finally bound to nature. And
surely, I ask this every year and I don't get a satisfactory answer. Now they are getting the health care that they need as they get advanced in their ages. Surely now it's better.
Thelma, I don't know, is that your assessment?
I'm hoping
that is better.
I'm hoping.
The status quo remains. There has not been any change. There has not been any change in the sense that if you come to the headquarters of Veterans Administration Ghana, you'll be amazed at the medical bills that are being brought on a daily basis by these veterans just because the state has not been able to offer them the kind of medical care that they desire. It is a very, very sad situation. But I must say
what has been the challenge? Getting health care for them. What has been the challenge?
When a veteran goes to 37, he is expected to be treated freely. He is expected to be given free drugs. But here is the case, that is not the situation. He only gets the prescription and he has to go and buy it without refund being given to him. VAC has been trying to contain the situation. So how is VAC under the leadership of Captain Benbia, retired, trying to contain the situation? We are about completing a clinic at Amasama Legion Village, where we hope to get some support from some benevolent organizations by way of medical equipment and drugs, so that the focus will be on these veterans and their immediate families.
What's the level of the construction? You say you're almost completed with the clinic.
Yes.
Where is it? What state is it in?
Has it
been roofed? Is it painted?
I'm sure painting and fixing of electrical gadgets will be underway now. Because the last time the executive director and his management made a trip to that place, the roofing was over, plastering was about commencing. So that is early this year. So I'm sure by now work has progressed, and by March ending, the facility is expected to be handed over to VAC for full operation.
How are you raising funds, or how did you raise funds? How do you ensure it gets the equipment that it needs?
Fundraising comes through Poppy patronage. And here, please permit me to acknowledge the contributions of some people. The president gave us some amount of money during our Poppy appeal launch last year. Bank of Ghana gave us some amount of money. Faith Montessori School, Bawe, located at Bawe, has been a wonderful sponsor of our activities, and some schools and some individuals. So then Alpha Lotto, let me acknowledge the contributions of Alpha Lotto. Yes, so these are some of the few people who have been supporting VAG to achieve its objective of taking care of ensuring that the welfare of veterans is met.
How can people support you? If someone wants to contact you, contact VAG, and then get some support across to you in some of these activities, how do they reach you?
We have an account, but I don't have off-head that account number, so let me just put out my number so that you can reach me. Then I'll get you the account number. My number is 0244 54 1464. 0244 54 1464. And tell me, I don't know how much time we have anyway.
We will have to wrap up. So tomorrow's activities, what time is it starting? It's at the usual place, and
It's at the usual place. The place is known as Freedom and Justice Park or Nationalism Park. It is located between the Accra Sports Stadium and the Independence Square. That is the location, the usual location for this event.
I'm sure we'll be there tomorrow, and then we'll have the opportunity to talk some more.
The public is welcomed. Everybody is welcomed.
We wish you well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Ex-Warrant Officer Class 1, Bright Segbefia of the Veterans Administration of Ghana. He's been here talking to us about tomorrow's event at the Nationalism Park, where the reenactment of the 28th February 1948 Crossroad shooting incident will be happening, and he's inviting all of us. He's also told us about a veterans clinic, a veterans health facility that is being put up in the Amasaman area. So if you have any supports to give to the veterans, tomorrow at Nationalism Park, the officials will be there and they can give details. That account number, you'll be able to pick that up tomorrow. In the meantime, you can call Officer Segbefia on 0244 541464. That's how you can reach him. He is with the Veterans Administration of Ghana. It's a historic week for Ghana, and tomorrow we'll see one aspect of that independence struggle. There is another struggle between the agrees and the not agrees when it comes to whether or not the Ghana card should be the sole document for registration of new voters onto the electoral roll, and we'll have that conversation after this break. We'll be back.